This is my first online movie review, and any of you that know me will not be surprised to see that the film that I picked to kick off with was JJ Abrams' reimagining of Star Trek. Now, Star Trek was a great TV show back in the 60s that offered an escape from the cowboy and cop dramas that pretty much dominated the airwaves at that time. But it also had a lot of the same elements that made those shows work. It made William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy household names. Up until that point, they had been actors that worked day to day with roles on shows such as Gunsmoke and The Twilight Zone. However, as popular as the show was, it only lasted 3 years. If you've ever watched episodes from the last season that aired, then you'll know why. Episodes like Spock's Brain are famous for how bad they were.
Where are you going to look for Spock's brain?
After the show went off the air, there was enough complaining by fans for Paramount to make a movie that brought back all of the characters. The result was Star Trek the Motion Picture, and it was awful. The only good thing about it was the special effects, which won an Oscar. They were competing with Star Wars at the time, and Star Wars won that battle hands down. Luckily, they came back a couple of years later with Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, which delivered what the first one couldn't, a good story. Star Trek has become more of a success after the original series was canceled than it ever was in the 60s. Now, in addition to 79 original series episodes, there are 10 major motion pictures, not including the new one, and 4 more television series, The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise. Even the first spin-off, Star Trek The Next Generation, was made into 4 movies. There was even a cartoon that aired for a short time in the 70s. The new movie is an attempt to not only give the fans what they want, more Star Trek, but also to revitalize a gold mine that has seen some recent dwindling. The cast of the old series was aging, several of them had died, and the last movie, which was called Nemesis, had left the studio wanting. Plus, there was the fact that most of the Next Generation cast was ready to leave Star Trek behind them. They had been playing those characters for about 15 years. So Paramount hired JJ Abrams to figure out how to give Star Trek a shot in the arm. He wasn't a big Star Trek fan, so they thought he could give them something that would appeal to not only die-hard Trekkers, but also to the casual viewer, as well as to someone who doesn't know a Klingon from a Tribble. His success on the series Alias and Lost worked in his favor as well. Now for my review. What JJ came up with was amazing. The movie is classic Star Trek, but in a new and different way. The ships look great, the costumes look great, and the sets look great. I don't know any other word to describe the look of this movie other than great. Now, I have to say that though this review is going to be more or less a love fest, there are some undeniable plot holes big enough to fly a starship through. Some of the ways that things happen are so coincidental that it can be unbelievable if you think about it too much, even for Star Trek. I'll give some examples as I go through the plot. I want to start telling some of the things that I love and disliked about the movie, and I can't go into the plot without giving a few things away, so I guess I need to activate the spoiler alert.
Warning. Spoiler alert activated. Warning. Spoiler alert activated. Warning. Spoiler alert activated.
The film opens on one of the most epic action sequences that I can remember ever seeing in any science fiction film. I think that the only scene that could rival it may be the opening of Star Wars Episode 3. We're seeing the USS Kelvin being attacked by a massive-looking ship. It doesn't even really look like a ship. It looks more like a giant set of black teeth in space. I have to give a little bit of warning here. Abrams loves to use the shaky cam technique. He's been known for it in all of his television series as well as his movies, most notably in Cloverfield. It's a good effect, and it really helps you feel like you're in the middle of the action, but it can make you a little dizzy. So if you're recovering from a head injury, this may not be the film for you. I almost went to see the movie at the IMAX, and now I'm sort of glad that I didn't. The captain takes a shuttle over to the attacking vessel to negotiate, which is just stupid. I know that Kirk left the ship all the time, but really, when he left to go talk to a Romulan that was giving his ship a spanking, I think that even my 7-year-old daughter knew what was going to happen to him. He hands command over to his first officer, Commander George Kirk. Surprisingly, the captain is killed, and the crew abandons ship. All but Kirk, who stays behind to draw enemy fire long enough for the escape vessels to get to safety. Coincidentally, Kirk's wife is going into labor on her shuttle and gives birth to the little captain, just as her husband rams his starship into Nero's ship. Needless to say, George Kirk is killed, which sets up a chain of events that leads us to a 20-something James T. Kirk, who we now see as a drunken scoundrel that kind of reminds me of Han Solo, or maybe even Maverick from Top Gun. He hits on Uhura in a bar and gets into a fight with a bunch of Starfleet cadets. He gets his butt handed to him until the fight is stopped by Captain Christopher Pike. This is one of the things that I liked about the film. JJ Abrams was able to put enough into this film that die-hard Trek fans will love to pick apart without leaving casual fans in the dark. If you don't know who Christopher Pike is, then you don't miss anything. If you're a fan of the original series, then you know that he was the captain in the pilot episode that was not picked up. The show was rewritten to be more action-oriented, and William Shatner was cast as the captain of the Enterprise. Pike came back in an episode called The Menagerie, where he was seen in a wheelchair, which is also nodded to in the film. So Pike talks Kirk into enlisting in Starfleet Academy, and the rest is alternate universe history. That's right, that's how JJ Abrams is able to show his vision of what Star Trek could be without messing up the timeline established by the show. He uses a little time travel, which is nothing new to Star Trek, and is able to create an alternate future for the characters. Basically, he can do anything he wants now without messing up what's been established over the past 40 years. He could kill Kirk in the sequel if he wanted. This is one of the things that irked me. Star Trek has had time travel 1,000 times before, most notably in Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. Whenever they go back and change things, it's changed. They're not constantly creating new universes. There are mirror universe episodes, but they have nothing to do with time travel.